In this video, we will learn about limits in calculus and understand their importance. Limits are a fundamental concept in calculus that help us understand how functions behave as the input gets arbitrarily close to a certain point. Let's start by understanding what a limit is and why it's important in calculus. In simple terms, a limit is the value that a function approaches as the input gets infinitely close to a certain point. The notation for a limit is lim x approaches a of f of x equals L, where L is the limiting value. This means that as x gets arbitrarily close to a, the function f of x gets arbitrarily close to L. Now let's dive deeper into understanding limits and how they work. One of the main uses of limits is to study the behavior of functions, especially when the function is not defined at a certain point. For example, the limit as x approaches 0 of 1 over x does not exist because the function approaches infinity as x gets closer to 0. This is denoted by the symbol infinity, which means that the function grows without bound as x approaches 0. There are different types of limits, including one-sided limits and infinite limits. One-sided limits are used to study the behavior of a function as the input approaches a certain point from one side. These limits are denoted by a plus sign or a minus sign, depending on which side the input is approaching from. Infinite limits are used to describe the behavior of a function as the input approaches a certain point and the function approaches infinity or negative infinity. These limits are denoted by the symbol infinity or negative infinity, depending on whether the function approaches positive or negative infinity. Now let's learn how to calculate limits using different techniques. One way to calculate limits is by direct substitution, where we simply plug in the value of a into the function. This method works when the function is continuous at the point a. Another way to calculate limits is by factoring and canceling, where we simplify the expression and then take the limit. This method works when the function has a factor of xa in the numerator and denominator. L'Hopital's rule is a powerful technique for calculating limits of indeterminate forms. L'Hopital's rule states that the limit of a quotient of functions is equal to the quotient of their derivatives. This rule can be applied when the limit is in the form 0 over 0 or infinity/infinity. In conclusion, limits are a fundamental concept in calculus that help us understand how functions behave as the input gets arbitrarily close to a certain point. Limits have many applications in calculus and other fields of mathematics, including the study of continuity, differentiation, and integration. By understanding limits, we can gain a deeper appreciation for the behavior of functions and how they can be used to model real-world phenomena.